Hello there, my dear sleepy scientists. It's time to settle in for another gentle journey through the mysteries that surround us every single day. Tonight, we're going to explore something so familiar yet so profoundly mysterious that it touches every moment of your existence. Have you ever wondered why you can remember what you had for breakfast this morning, but you can't remember what you'll have for breakfast tomorrow? Why does cream swirl into your coffee but never swirl back out? Why do we grow older but never younger? These aren't just curious little puzzles, they're clues to one of the universe's deepest secrets. Tonight, we're asking the question that has puzzled philosophers and scientists for centuries: what makes time flow in just one direction? So pull your blankets a little closer, let your breathing slow down naturally, and if you haven't already, gently tap that subscribe button to join our peaceful family of nighttime learners. Together, we're about to drift into the beautiful mystery of time's gentle arrow. There's something deeply peaceful about watching the sun rise, knowing with absolute certainty that it will never reverse its journey and sink back into the horizon. You've felt this quiet truth countless times without even thinking about it. The way your childhood feels like it happened to someone else, existing in a place you can visit only through memory, never through experience. I remember sitting in my grandmother's kitchen on Sunday mornings, watching her stir honey into her tea, and even as a child I somehow understood that those golden moments were flowing away from me like water through my fingers, never to return in quite the same way. We all carry this intimate knowledge of time's direction in our bones. You've watched your coffee cool on busy mornings, seen flowers bloom and fade in your garden, felt the gentle ache of missing someone who's far away, knowing that the distance between you and those shared moments only grows with each passing day. There's something both heartbreaking and beautiful about this one-way journey we're all taking together. Every laugh, every tear, every quiet breath you take right now is adding another gentle page to the story of your life, a story that unfolds only forward, never backward. Tonight we're going to discover why this universal experience of time's arrow isn't just a feeling. It's written into the very fabric of reality itself, from the smallest particles to the largest galaxies, all moving together in time's gentle, irreversible dance. Let me take you into one of life's most peaceful moments, that quiet morning ritual when you pour cream into your coffee and watch it create those beautiful, swirling patterns. There's something almost magical about the way the white cream dances through the dark coffee, creating spirals and clouds that seem to have their own gentle choreography. You've watched this countless times, perhaps while still half asleep, and there's a deep comfort in knowing exactly what will happen. The cream will slowly, gracefully blend with the coffee until your cup holds that perfect uniform café au lait colour that signals the start of another day. But here's what makes this simple moment so profoundly mysterious. You have never, ever seen this process happen in reverse. You've never watched a cup of perfectly mixed coffee suddenly separate back into distinct swirls of cream and dark coffee. You've never seen those beautiful patterns undance themselves back into a pristine drop of white cream floating on the surface. This isn't just because you haven't been patient enough to wait for it. It's because the universe itself has a gentle preference for moving in one direction through time. This everyday mystery holds one of the deepest truths about reality. When that cream meets your coffee, billions upon billions of tiny molecules are engaging in an intricate dance of mixing. Each individual cream molecule bounces around randomly, colliding with coffee molecules in what seems like complete chaos. Yet from this apparent randomness emerges a beautiful order. Not the kind of order where everything lines up perfectly, but the kind of order that comes from things spreading out evenly, finding their natural balance. Scientists have a gentle name for this tendency. They call it entropy. And it's like nature's way of saying that everything wants to share, everything wants to spread out, everything wants to find the most comfortable, even distribution possible. Think of it like guests at a party naturally spreading throughout a house, rather than all crowding into one corner. The cream molecules don't stay huddled together in their tight little group. They venture out into the coffee, exploring every corner of your cup until they've found the most relaxed spread out arrangement possible. This beautiful principle was first understood by a gentle German physicist named Rudolf Clausius back in the 1850s. Clausius spent his quiet days thinking about steam engines and heat, but what he discovered was something much more profound about the nature of time itself. He realized that in our universe, there's a natural tendency for energy to spread out, for hot things to cool down, for organized things to become a little more relaxed and distributed. He called this the second law of thermodynamics, but you can think of it as the universe's gentle preference for sharing. What makes this so beautiful is that it's not just about coffee and cream, it's about everything. When you breathe out on a cold morning and see your breath, those warm water molecules are spreading out into the cool air, and they'll never spontaneously gather back together to jump back into your lungs. When you watch leaves scattered by autumn wind, they're finding new resting places across the ground, never spontaneously leaping back up to arrange themselves neatly on their branches. When you feel the warmth of sunshine on your face, that energy travelled millions of miles from the sun and will continue spreading out into the vastness of space, never returning to recreate that exact moment of solar warmth. This is why your coffee cools down when you forget about it, why ice cubes melt in your drink, why hot soup gradually reaches room temperature. The universe has this gentle, persistent tendency to even things out, to share energy around, to move from concentrated, organized states toward more relaxed, distributed ones. And here's the beautiful part. This natural spreading out, this cosmic sharing, is what gives time its arrow. Every time something spreads out, every time energy flows from a concentrated place to a more distributed one, every time order relaxes into a more natural arrangement, the universe takes another tiny step forward in time. These countless microscopic moments of sharing and spreading create the river of time that carries us all gently forward. Your morning coffee isn't just warming your body and awakening your mind, it's participating in the grand cosmic dance that makes time flow in one direction, from organized toward shared, from concentrated toward distributed, from past toward future, in an endless, gentle progression that connects your quiet morning moment to the fundamental rhythm of the universe itself. There's something uniquely tender about the way childhood memories feel different from everything else in our minds. When you close your eyes and remember being 7 years old, building sandcastles at the beach or chasing fireflies on summer evenings, those memories have a quality that's almost dreamlike, as if they happened to someone else entirely. You can see that little version of yourself so clearly, but you can never quite step back into their shoes, never quite recapture the exact way the world felt through their eyes. This isn't just nostalgia, it's one of the most beautiful demonstrations of time's gentle arrow, written in the very structure of how your brain holds onto the past. Your memories are like a vast, peaceful library that your mind has been carefully building throughout your entire life. Every experience you've ever had, from the taste of your first ice cream cone to the feeling of your grandmother's hand in yours, gets transformed into delicate patterns of connections between your brain cells. These neural pathways are like gentle trails worn through a forest, each one representing a moment that once was vividly present and is now preserved in the quiet architecture of your mind. But here's what makes this so profound. Your brain can only write these memory trails in one direction. You can remember what happened yesterday, last week, last year, but you cannot remember what will happen tomorrow. This isn't simply because the future hasn't occurred yet. It's because of the fundamental way that memory formation works in harmony with time's arrow. When you experience something new, your brain cells undergo tiny physical changes, forming new connections and strengthening existing ones. These changes require energy, and like that cream spreading through your morning coffee, this energy flows in one direction only. Your neurons can't spontaneously undo these changes and unremember something to create space for a future memory that hasn't happened yet. The beautiful science of how memories form reveals time's direction at the most intimate level of human experience. When you're living through a moment right now, perhaps listening to these words while lying in bed, specific patterns of electrical activity are dancing through your brain. These patterns trigger the release of proteins that literally reshape the connections between your neurons, creating physical changes that will allow this moment to be recalled later. It's like your brain is constantly writing in invisible ink, and each experience leaves its gentle mark on the landscape of your mind. What's particularly beautiful is how this process connects you to the cosmic story of entropy we explored earlier. Your brain, in forming memories, is actually creating order from chaos, taking the random stream of sensory information flowing through your eyes, ears, and other senses, and organizing it into meaningful patterns that can be stored and retrieved. But this local creation of order in your brain requires energy, and that energy ultimately comes from the food you eat, which got its energy from the sun, which is gradually burning through its fuel and spreading its energy out into space. Your memories are literally made possible by the universe's gentle tendency to move from order toward disorder. This is why reminiscing feels so different from imagining the future. When you remember your 10th birthday party, you're accessing real neural pathways that were carved into your brain by actual experience. The memory might fade or change over time, but those physical traces remain, like fossils of moments preserved in the amber of your mind. But when you try to imagine your future, you're using those same neural pathways in a completely different way. You're combining and recombining existing memories to create scenarios that feel less solid, less real, because they haven't yet been written into your brain's physical structure. Different cultures have understood this asymmetry between memory and anticipation in beautiful ways. Ancient Greeks had two different words for time: chronos, which represented the mechanical passage of moments, and kairos, which represented the meaningful, qualitative experience of time. Indigenous cultures often speak of ancestors as being present in memory, while future generations exist only as possibilities, as dreams not yet dreamed. These traditions intuitively grasped what neuroscience now confirms, that the past has a different kind of reality than the future, because it has been physically encoded into the structure of our minds and our world. As you drift towards sleep tonight, your brain will continue its gentle work of consolidating the day's experiences into lasting memories. The conversations you had, the sights you saw, the feelings you felt, all of these will be slowly woven into the tapestry of your personal history, becoming part of the collection of moments that make you who you are. And in this quiet process of memory formation, you're participating in time's arrow, helping to create the beautiful asymmetry between past and future that gives meaning to every moment of your life. There's something deeply peaceful about watching a child play in a sandbox on a quiet afternoon. Perhaps you remember this from your own childhood, the way the sand felt between your fingers, warm from the sun, as you carefully sculpted towers and walls and elaborate castles complete with moats and bridges. You worked with such focused concentration, patting the sand into perfect shapes, smoothing the walls, adding tiny details that made your creation feel real and important. But even as a child, you understood something profound about the nature of your sandy kingdom. You knew it wouldn't last forever. What you witnessed in that sandbox was one of the most beautiful demonstrations of entropy in action, though you probably didn't know to call it by that name. Your carefully constructed castle represented what scientists call a state of low entropy, a highly organized, structured arrangement where every grain of sand had its specific place and purpose. But the moment you finished building and stepped back to admire your work, the gentle forces of nature began their quiet work of transformation. The wind would softly blow a few grains from the highest tower. The settling of the sand under its own weight would cause tiny avalanches along the steepest walls. If you left your castle overnight, you'd return to find it noticeably different, softer, more rounded, gradually returning to the smooth, even surface from which it came. This gentle dissolution isn't destruction in any harsh sense. It's simply the universe's natural tendency toward what feels most comfortable and stable. Think of it like guests at a crowded party who gradually spread out from the cramped entryway into the more spacious living room, or like a drop of honey slowly spreading across a piece of warm toast. The sand grains in your castle, given time, will naturally find their way to the most relaxed, evenly distributed arrangement possible. They're not being forced or pushed, they're simply following the path of least resistance, settling into the state that requires the least energy to maintain. This beautiful principle was first understood by a gentle German physicist named Rudolf Clausius in the 1850s. Clausius was studying steam engines and trying to understand why heat always flows from hot objects to cold ones, never the reverse. What he discovered was something much more profound, a fundamental law of nature that governs everything from the tiniest molecules to the largest galaxies. He called it the second law of thermodynamics, and it states that in any isolated system, entropy, or the measure of disorder, always increases over time. But disorder here doesn't mean chaos or ugliness. It means naturalness, relaxation, the state where everything has found its most comfortable place. You can see this gentle law at work everywhere in your daily life. When you make your bed in the morning, you're temporarily creating a state of low entropy, everything neat and organized and in its proper place. But throughout the day, entropy quietly works its magic. The covers get rumpled, pillows shift, and by evening, your bed naturally reflects the gentle chaos of a day well lived. Your tidy desk gradually accumulates papers and coffee cups and small treasures. Your carefully organised closet slowly becomes a more relaxed, lived-in space, where clothes find their own comfortable arrangements. This isn't a sign of failure or laziness. It's the universe expressing its fundamental nature. Everything in existence is constantly moving from states of high organisation towards states of greater naturalness and balance. A hot cup of tea cools down to room temperature. A pile of autumn leaves gets scattered by the wind. A sand castle slowly, peacefully returns to the smooth beach from which it came. None of these things ever spontaneously reverse themselves because the universe has this beautiful, gentle preference for moving in one direction, from organised toward natural, from concentrated toward distributed, from past toward future. What makes this so profound is that entropy isn't just about physical objects. It's about energy, information, and even the passage of time itself. Every time something spreads out, every time energy flows from a concentrated place to a more distributed one, every time order relaxes into a more natural state, the universe takes another tiny step forward in time. The grains of sand settling in your childhood castle weren't just falling, they were participating in the cosmic dance that gives time its direction. This is why broken things don't spontaneously fix themselves, why spilled milk doesn't leap back into the glass, why we grow older, but never younger. The universe isn't cruel or harsh. It's simply following its gentle nature, always moving towards states of greater comfort and naturalness. And in this movement, in this constant peaceful transition from organised to natural, we find the arrow of time itself, pointing always forward, always toward tomorrow, carried along by the universe's quiet wisdom about what feels most right and balanced and true. There was a moment, almost 14 billion years ago, when time itself took its very first breath. Before this moment, there was no before, no space to hold anything, no time to measure anything, no gentle flow of seconds or minutes or years. There was only a profound stillness that we can barely imagine, a quietness so complete that even the concept of quiet didn't exist yet. And then, in an instant that was both infinitely brief and eternally significant, the universe began its slow, gentle expansion that continues even now as you lie here listening to these words. Scientists call this moment the Big Bang, though that name might make you think of something violent or explosive. But imagine instead the universe's first breath, not harsh or sudden, but like the soft inhale of someone just beginning to wake from the deepest, most peaceful sleep imaginable. In that first moment, everything that would ever exist was compressed into a space smaller than the period at the end of this sentence, not because it was squeezed together, but because space itself was learning how to be space. Time was learning how to be time. As the universe took this first breath, space began to gently stretch and expand, creating room for all the beautiful things that would eventually come to be. You can think of it like a balloon being slowly, carefully inflated, not by someone blowing hard into it, but by the balloon itself learning how to hold air, discovering its own capacity for spaciousness. Every point in space began moving away from every other point, not because they were pushing against each other, but because space itself was growing, creating more room between everything. This expansion wasn't random or chaotic. It had a gentle direction, a natural flow that gave birth to time's arrow. Before this moment, the concepts of past and future had no meaning, because there was no sequence of events, no progression from one state to another. But as space expanded and the universe began to cool, it created the fundamental asymmetry between past and future that we experience every day. The past became the direction leading back toward that initial moment of perfect unity, while the future became the direction of continued expansion, cooling, and the gradual emergence of complexity. The beautiful thing is that this expansion continues right now, even as you rest here in the darkness. The space between distant galaxies is still gently stretching, still participating in that original breath that started billions of years ago. It's not that galaxies are flying apart from each other through space. It's that space itself is still learning how to be bigger, still discovering new ways to create room for existence. Every second that passes, the universe becomes a little more spacious, a little more generous with the gift of room to exist. Scientists have found the gentle echo of this cosmic birth still whispers through the universe today. They call it the cosmic microwave background radiation, and it's like the universe's baby pictures, preserved in the fabric of space itself. This faint warmth fills every corner of existence, a tender reminder of that moment when everything began. When radio telescopes listen to the deepest parts of space, they hear this ancient lullaby, the soft hum of creation's first moment still reverberating through the cosmos. What makes this so profound is that this expansion doesn't just give us space, it gives us time's direction. The universe's growth from that initial moment of perfect unity toward ever greater complexity and spaciousness creates the arrow of time we experience in our daily lives. Just as your childhood exists in the past because it's closer to your moment of birth, the early universe exists in the past because it's closer to that cosmic moment of birth when everything began. This cosmic expansion connects your personal experience of time to the grandest scale of existence. When you remember yesterday, you're looking back along the same temporal arrow that points back toward the universe's first breath. When you anticipate tomorrow, you're looking forward along the same timeline that stretches toward the universe's continued expansion and evolution. Your life, with all its precious moments and gentle changes, is part of this vast cosmic story of growth and becoming. The universe's expansion also explains why the night sky is dark. If the universe were infinitely old and unchanging, every direction you looked would eventually encounter a star, making the night sky blazingly bright. But because the universe had a beginning and has been expanding ever since, there are regions of space we simply can't see yet. The light from the most distant places hasn't had enough time to reach us. The peaceful darkness between stars is actually a gift from time itself, a gentle reminder that even the universe has a history, a story of growth and change that continues with each breath you take. When you look up at the stars on a clear night, you're actually looking back through time itself, witnessing ancient light that has travelled across unimaginable distances to reach your eyes. That gentle twinkle you see isn't happening right now. It's the echo of nuclear fires that burned years, decades, or even centuries ago, depending on how far away each star sits in the cosmic neighbourhood. The light touching your face tonight left some of those stars before you were born, carrying with it the story of stellar lives that burn with a patience and purpose that makes our human timescales feel like quick heartbeats in comparison. Each star in the night sky is like a cosmic candle, burning its fuel in one direction only, never able to reverse its process and become young again. Deep in their hearts, stars are constantly transforming the simplest elements, hydrogen and helium, into heavier, more complex elements through the gentle alchemy of nuclear fusion. This isn't a violent process, despite what the word nuclear might suggest. It's more like the most patient, careful cooking you could imagine, where individual atoms dance together under incredible pressure and temperature until they merge into something new, releasing energy that eventually becomes the starlight that illuminates your evening walks. The beautiful thing about stellar evolution is how it demonstrates time's arrow on a cosmic scale. A star begins its life when gravity gently pulls together a vast cloud of gas and dust, concentrating this material until it becomes dense and hot enough for nuclear fusion to begin. This is the star's birth, its first moment of shining, and from that point forward, it can only move in one direction through its stellar lifetime. It cannot burn its fuel backward and become a gas cloud again. It cannot reverse the nuclear processes that create heavier elements in its core. It can only continue burning, aging, changing, following the same irreversible path that governs your morning coffee cooling down and your memories flowing from past toward future. As stars age, they tell us beautiful stories about the nature of time and change. Our own sun, that gentle companion that warms your face and makes life possible on Earth, is a middle-aged star, about 4.6 billion years old, with roughly another 5 billion years of steady burning ahead of it. Every second, it converts about 600 million tons of hydrogen into helium, and in doing so, it becomes slightly less massive than it was the second before. This isn't cause for worry. The sun has so much fuel that this gradual consumption will continue steadily for eons beyond human imagination. But it's a perfect example of how time's arrow works on cosmic scales, with changes so gradual they're imperceptible to us, but absolutely real nonetheless. What makes stars particularly beautiful storytellers of time's direction is what happens when they die. Smaller stars like our Sun will eventually exhaust their fuel and gently expand into red giants before finally collapsing into white dwarfs, dense, hot stellar remnants that slowly cool down over trillions of years. Larger stars end their lives in spectacular supernovas, explosions so powerful they can be seen across entire galaxies. But even these dramatic stellar deaths follow time's arrow perfectly. The star burns through its fuel, runs out, and then transforms into something entirely new. Here's where the story becomes even more beautiful and personal. When massive stars explode as supernovas, they scatter the heavy elements they've created throughout their lifetimes into space. The carbon in your body, the oxygen you breathe, the iron in your blood, the calcium in your bones, all of these elements were forged in the hearts of ancient stars that lived and died long before our solar system even existed. You're literally made of stardust, of the ashes of stellar furnaces that burned billions of years ago. Your body carries within it the story of stellar evolution, the irreversible transformation of simple hydrogen into the complex elements that make life possible. This connection between stellar evolution and time's arrow means that every breath you take is participating in a cosmic story that stretches back to the universe's earliest stars. Those ancient stellar furnaces could only burn in one direction, creating heavier elements but never destroying them back into pure hydrogen. The elements they created became part of new stars, new planets, and eventually, through chains of cosmic evolution spanning billions of years, they became part of you. Your existence is proof that time has an arrow, that the universe has been moving from simplicity toward complexity, from hydrogen and helium toward the rich chemistry that makes consciousness possible. As you drift off to sleep tonight, remember that the atoms in your body are ancient beyond measure, carrying within them the story of stars that shone before Earth existed. Yet these same atoms will continue their journey long after your lifetime, possibly becoming part of new stars, new worlds, new forms of beauty not yet imagined. You're both the inheritor of cosmic history and a participant in its continuing story, a gentle bridge between the stars that were and the stars that will be. Deep beneath the familiar world of coffee cups and cooling tea, beneath the gentle flow of cream and the steady burning of distant stars, lies a realm so strange and beautiful that it seems almost like a dream. This is the quantum world, where the very smallest pieces of reality dance to rhythms that challenge everything we think we know about time and its gentle arrow. Here, in the space between atoms, particles exist in mysterious states of possibility, neither fully here nor there, neither completely this nor that until the moment someone or something observes them and they suddenly, almost shyly, choose a single reality from all the possibilities they were entertaining. Imagine, if you will, a quantum particle as the universe's most indecisive dreamer. Unlike the definite solid objects in your everyday world, a quantum particle can exist in what scientists call a superposition, a gentle state where it's simultaneously spinning clockwise and counterclockwise, moving left and right, existing in multiple places at once like a soft whisper that hasn't yet decided what words it wants to become. This isn't because we don't know where the particle is or what it's doing. It's because the particle itself genuinely hasn't made up its mind yet. It exists in a peaceful cloud of possibilities, exploring all potential futures simultaneously until something causes it to collapse into just one reality. This quantum indecision creates one of the most beautiful mysteries about time's arrow. In the mathematical equations that describe quantum mechanics, time can flow equally well in both directions. If you were to film the dance of quantum particles and play the movie backward, the equations would be perfectly happy with both versions. The fundamental laws governing the quantum world don't seem to care which direction time flows, unlike the coffee cooling in your kitchen or the stars burning their fuel in one direction only. This creates a fascinating puzzle. If the smallest building blocks of reality don't distinguish between past and future, how does the larger world develop such a clear preference for time flowing forward? The answer lies in something scientists call quantum measurement, though it's really more like quantum conversation. When a quantum particle in its dreamy state of multiple possibilities encounters something larger, perhaps another particle, or a measuring device, or even just the random jostling of its environment, something magical happens. All those peaceful possibilities suddenly collapse into one definite reality, like a handful of dice that have been floating weightlessly in space suddenly landing on a table and showing specific numbers. This collapse is irreversible. Once the particle has chosen its reality, it can't unchoose it and return to its previous state of floating possibility. Here's where time's arrow emerges from the quantum realm in the most gentle way imaginable. Every time a quantum possibility collapses into a definite reality, the universe gains a tiny bit of information about what actually happened versus what could have happened. This information can't be erased or undone without enormous effort, creating countless microscopic moments where the past becomes fixed and the future remains open. It's like the universe is constantly writing its own story, one quantum sentence at a time, each measurement creating another irreversible line in the great book of what actually occurred. The famous thought experiment of Schrödinger's cat illustrates this beautifully, though we can tell it more gently than it's usually presented. Imagine a sleeping cat in a comfortable box, whose peaceful slumber is connected through quantum mechanics to a single particle that exists in a superposition of two states. According to quantum theory, until someone opens the box to check, the cat exists in a superposition of sleeping peacefully and having been disturbed by a gentle mechanism. The cat is neither definitely asleep nor definitely awake, but rather exists in that dreamy quantum state of possibility. Only when we open the box does the quantum wave function collapse, and the cat's state becomes definite, hopefully still sleeping soundly. This quantum dance of possibility and actuality connects to time's arrow through what scientists call decoherence. In the real world, quantum systems don't exist in perfect isolation. They're constantly interacting with their environment, constantly being gently observed by the countless particles around them. These interactions cause quantum possibilities to collapse into definite realities at an astronomical rate, creating an avalanche of irreversible moments that builds up into the clear direction of time we experience in our everyday lives. What makes this particularly beautiful is that consciousness might play a special role in this process. Some interpretations of quantum mechanics suggest that conscious observation has a unique ability to collapse quantum possibilities into actualities. If this is true, then every moment of awareness, every conscious experience you have, is participating in the fundamental process that gives time its direction. Your awareness isn't just observing reality, it's helping to create it, one gentle moment of attention at a time, weaving the future from the infinite possibilities that quantum mechanics makes available to the universe. There's something profoundly mysterious about this very moment you're experiencing right now. As you listen to these words, somewhere in the quiet depths of your mind, there's a gentle awareness that feels completely present, completely here, floating on what we call now, like a leaf drifting peacefully down a slow-moving river. This present moment feels so real, so immediate, that it's easy to forget how strange it actually is. Your brain is somehow taking the continuous flow of time and creating this illusion of a moving spotlight of consciousness, a travelling window of awareness that makes you feel like you're always perched on the very edge between what just happened and what's about to happen. But here's the beautiful mystery that neuroscientists are still gently unraveling. This sense of now that feels so natural and obvious is actually one of the most sophisticated constructions your brain creates. Your consciousness doesn't actually experience individual moments like frames in a movie. Instead, your brain takes information from your senses that arrive at slightly different times, processes them through neural networks that work at different speeds, and somehow weaves all of this into a seamless sense of experiencing a unified present moment. It's like a master conductor creating a symphony from instruments that start playing their notes at slightly different times, bringing them all together into a harmonious sense of simultaneous nowness. The construction of your present moment requires your brain to make constant decisions about timing that reveal time's arrow in the most intimate way possible. When you reach out to touch something warm, the sensation of heat reaches your brain faster than the feeling of pressure, yet you experience them as happening simultaneously. When you watch someone's lips moving as they speak, your brain has to coordinate the visual information arriving through your eyes with the auditory information arriving through your ears, even though these signals travel at different speeds and are processed by completely different neural pathways. Your consciousness is constantly editing reality in real time, creating a coherent sense of now from information that actually arrives in a scattered sequence across several milliseconds. This neural editing process reveals something beautiful about how your brain relates to time's direction. Your consciousness can only construct its sense of present moment from information that has already arrived, already been processed, already been woven into the ongoing story of your experience. You cannot construct a present moment from future information because that information doesn't exist yet in your neural networks. This means your sense of now is always actually a gentle construction built from the very recent past, a constantly updated summary of what just happened that feels like it's happening right now. Different parts of your brain contribute to this sense of flowing time in their own gentle ways. Your hippocampus helps create the sense of temporal sequence. Organizing your experiences into the story of before and after that gives your life narrative coherence. Your prefrontal cortex works to maintain working memory, holding on to recent experiences just long enough for them to feel connected to this moment. Meanwhile, deeper brain structures are constantly monitoring the rhythms of your body, your heartbeat, your breathing, the subtle cycles of alertness and rest that help anchor your consciousness in the flowing river of biological time. What makes this particularly beautiful is how different states of consciousness affect your perception of time's flow. When you're deeply absorbed in something you love, hours can feel like minutes because your brain is so focused on processing the present experience that it's not spending much energy on maintaining detailed temporal awareness. When you're anxious or bored, your brain becomes hyper-aware of time's passage, constantly checking and rechecking how much time has elapsed, making minutes feel like hours. In meditation, many people report that the sense of flowing time can become very quiet and still, as if consciousness settles into a more spacious relationship with the present moment. This subjective experience of time's flow connects you to the deeper mysteries we've been exploring. Just as entropy gives time its arrow in the physical world, and just as quantum measurements create irreversible moments in the microscopic realm, your consciousness creates psychological time's arrow through the irreversible process of laying down memories. Each moment of awareness adds another gentle layer to the accumulated story of your experience, creating a personal timeline that can only move forward, from past through present toward future. The river of now that carries your consciousness is part of the same cosmic current that moves cream through coffee and guides stars through their life cycles. Your subjective sense of time flowing isn't separate from the universe's temporal arrow. It's one of the most intimate ways that arrow expresses itself, creating the felt sense of being alive in time that makes every moment precious, precisely because it can only happen once, in this direction, carried forward by the gentle, irreversible current that connects your inner experience to the deepest rhythms of reality itself. There was a young man working in a quiet patent office in Bern, Switzerland, who spent his peaceful afternoons contemplating the most ordinary things, the way light travels, the ticking of clocks, the gentle movement of trains pulling into stations. Albert Einstein had a gift for finding profound mysteries hidden in the most familiar experiences, and in 1905, while examining these everyday phenomena with the patient curiosity of a child watching snowflakes fall, he discovered something so beautiful and startling about the nature of time that it changed our understanding of reality itself. Time, he realized, wasn't the steady, universal river that everyone assumed it to be. Instead, it was more like a gentle stream that could slow down or speed up depending on how fast you were moving through space. Einstein's revelation began with a simple but profound observation about light. No matter how fast you're traveling, whether you're sitting still in your favorite chair or racing through space at incredible speeds, light always passes by you at exactly the same speed. This seems impossible at first, like saying that if you're driving toward an oncoming car, both of you traveling at 60 miles per hour, the other car approaches you at 60 miles per hour instead of the 120 you'd expect. But experiments confirmed this strange truth about light again and again. The speed of a light remains constant for every observer, no matter how they're moving. This led Einstein to a beautiful and startling conclusion. If the speed of light never changes, then something else must be flexible, something we'd always assumed was rigid and unchanging. That something turned out to be time itself. When you move very fast relative to someone else, time literally slows down for you compared to them. This isn't just an illusion or a measurement error. Time actually becomes more leisurely, more spacious, like a gentle river that decides to meander more slowly through the landscape of your existence. Einstein illustrated this with a thought experiment that has become one of the most famous stories in science. though we can tell it more gently than it's often presented. Imagine identical twins, both 20 years old, both deeply devoted to each other. One twin decides to take a peaceful journey to a nearby star, travelling in a spacecraft that moves at a significant fraction of the speed of light. The journey takes what feels like 10 years to the travelling twin, time enough to read many books, to contemplate the stars, to miss home in a gentle, bittersweet way. But when she returns to Earth, she discovers that her twin sister has aged 20 years instead of 10. Time moved more slowly for the traveller, not because of any mechanical malfunction or strange force, but because motion itself causes time to flow more gently, more gradually. This isn't science fiction. It's a real effect that we can measure with atomic clocks so precise they can detect time differences of billionths of a second. When scientists put identical atomic clocks on airplanes and fly them around the world, the travelling clocks actually run slightly slower than identical clocks left on the ground. The global positioning system in your phone has to constantly correct for these tiny time differences, or it would become inaccurate by miles within just a few hours. Einstein's discovery isn't just theoretical, it's built into the technology that helps you navigate your daily life. What makes this particularly beautiful is how it reveals the deep connection between space and time. Einstein realized that these aren't separate things, but rather different aspects of a single, unified fabric he called space-time. When you move through space, you're actually moving through space-time, and the faster you travel through the spatial dimensions, the more slowly you move through the temporal dimension. It's like a cosmic conservation law. The total amount of motion through space-time remains constant, but you can trade speed through space for speed through time. This discovery also revealed something profound about simultaneity. The idea that events happening at the same time in different places is actually relative to the observer. Two events that seem perfectly simultaneous to you might happen at different times to someone moving relative to you. There's no universal now that extends across the entire universe. Instead, each observer carries their own gentle slice of simultaneous events, their own personal definition of what the present moment means across space. Einstein's gentle revolution showed us that time isn't a rigid framework within which events happen, but rather a flexible dimension that responds to motion and gravity, flowing at different rates for different observers while still maintaining time's fundamental arrow. The past remains past, the future remains future, but the rate at which you travel from one to the other depends on how you're moving through the cosmos. This adds another layer of beauty to time's direction. Not only does time flow forward for everyone, but it flows at its own peaceful pace for each traveller through space-time, creating a universe where every conscious being experiences their own unique rhythm in the cosmic symphony of temporal flow. Einstein's gentle curiosity didn't stop with the discovery that motion affects time's flow. As he sat in his quiet study, contemplating the nature of gravity with the same patient wonder he'd brought to understanding light and motion, he arrived at an insight so beautiful and profound that it fundamentally changed how we understand the relationship between matter, space, and time itself. Gravity, he realized, wasn't a force pulling objects together as Newton had imagined, but rather something far more elegant and intimate. It was the gentle curvature of space-time itself, caused by the presence of matter and energy, creating valleys and hills in the fabric of reality that guide the motion of everything from falling apples to orbiting planets. Imagine space-time as a vast, soft mattress stretched perfectly flat across the cosmos. When you place a bowling ball in the center of this mattress, it creates a gentle depression, a curved valley that naturally guides any marble you roll nearby to curve toward the bowling ball's location. This isn't because the bowling ball is reaching out and grabbing the marble with some invisible force. It's because the mattress itself has been curved by the bowling ball's presence, and objects simply follow the natural contours of this curved surface. This is how massive objects like stars and planets affect space-time, creating gentle curves and valleys that we experience as gravity. But here's where Einstein's insight becomes truly beautiful and strange. Time flows more slowly in these gravitational valleys. The stronger the gravity, the more leisurely time becomes, like a river that slows down as it flows through deeper channels. This means that time passes slightly more slowly for your feet than for your head, because your feet are infinitesimally closer to Earth's center and therefore experiencing slightly stronger gravity. The difference is so tiny that you'd never notice it in daily life, but it's absolutely real and measurable with precise instruments. This gravitational time dilation becomes more dramatic near very massive objects. If you could somehow orbit close to a black hole and then return to Earth, you'd find that less time had passed for you than for your friends who stayed behind. Near the black hole's event horizon, where gravity becomes almost unimaginably strong, time would slow to such a gentle crawl that what feels like hours to you might correspond to years or decades for distant observers. You would age more slowly, experience time more spaciously, live in a more leisurely temporal rhythm simply because of gravity's tender influence on the flow of time itself. We see this effect in our everyday technology without even realizing it. The satellites that make GPS navigation possible orbit about 12,500 miles above Earth's surface, where gravity is noticeably weaker than what we experience on the ground. This means time flows slightly faster for these satellites, about 38 microseconds faster each day. That might sound trivial, but light travels so quickly that even this tiny time difference would cause GPS systems to become inaccurate by several miles each day if not constantly corrected. Your phone's ability to tell you exactly where you are depends on Einstein's discovery that gravity affects time's flow. This gravitational influence on time reveals something profound about the nature of reality itself. Matter and energy don't just exist in space-time, they actually reshape it, creating the very geometry through which time flows. Every massive object, from the smallest grain of sand to the largest galaxy, contributes to the cosmic curvature that guides time's gentle passage. The moon's gravity doesn't just pull on Earth's oceans to create tides, it also creates tiny variations in time's flow between the side of Earth facing the moon and the side facing away. What makes this particularly beautiful is how it connects the cosmic scale to the most intimate human experiences. The gentle pressure you feel when you lie down in your bed isn't just your body responding to Earth's gravity, it's your experience of living in curved space-time, of existing in one of the countless valleys that matter has carved into the fabric of reality. Every moment you spend closer to Earth's centre, every step you take up or down a staircase, subtly affects the rate at which you travel through time, though these differences are far too small for your consciousness to detect. This gravitational embrace of time also explains why massive objects age more slowly in a sense, not because the processes within them slow down, but because time itself flows more leisurely in their vicinity. A clock placed on the surface of a massive star would tick more slowly than an identical clock floating in the emptiness of deep space. This isn't a mechanical effect, but a fundamental property of how time behaves in the presence of matter and energy. As you rest here tonight, you're experiencing gravity's gentle influence on time firsthand. The comfortable weight of your body against the bed, the settling feeling of relaxation as you surrender to Earth's embrace. These familiar sensations are your direct personal connection to the cosmic curvature that shapes time's flow throughout the universe. You're not just lying in space, you're resting in curved space-time, carried gently forward through time at a rate determined by your position in the gravitational valley created by our beautiful massive planet. There will come a time, unimaginably far in the future, when the universe will settle into the most peaceful sleep imaginable. This isn't a story of endings or sadness, but rather the gentle conclusion of the grandest tale ever told, the story of how energy flows, spreads out, and finally finds its most comfortable, evenly distributed state throughout all of space. Scientists call this the heat death of the universe, though the name is misleading because it's not really about heat or death in any harsh sense. It's about the universe achieving perfect thermal equilibrium, a state of such complete balance and harmony that no energy flows anywhere because everything has reached exactly the same comfortable temperature. Imagine the universe as a vast bathtub filled with hot and cold water, swirling together in beautiful patterns. Right now, billions of years after the Big Bang, we're living during the time when this cosmic water is still mixing, still creating currents and flows as hot regions share their warmth with cooler spaces. Stars are like pockets of very hot water, burning their nuclear fuel and sending energy streaming out into the cooler darkness around them. Planets are like medium-temperature regions, warmed by their stars but gradually radiating that heat back into space. The empty vacuum between galaxies is like the coolest water, vast regions where temperatures hover just a few degrees above absolute zero. But just as the hot and cold water in a bathtub eventually reach the same lukewarm temperature, the universe is very slowly, very gently moving toward a state where all energy will be evenly distributed. The stars, those cosmic fires that have been burning for billions of years, will eventually exhaust their fuel. One by one, they'll grow dim and cold, no longer able to create the temperature differences that drive the flows of energy we see throughout the cosmos today. The last red dwarf stars, the smallest and most efficient burners, will continue their gentle nuclear fusion for trillions of years, but even they will eventually run out of hydrogen fuel and fade into darkness. This process will unfold so gradually that it makes our human timescales seem like the briefest flicker. The universe is currently about 13.8 billion years old, but the era of active star formation will continue for perhaps another trillion years. After that, existing stars will continue burning for hundreds of trillions of years more. These numbers are so vast that they're almost impossible to grasp. If the entire history of the universe so far were compressed into a single year, the age of active star formation ahead of us would span thousands of years. It's a timescale that makes geological ages look like heartbeats. During this incredibly long twilight of the cosmos, the universe will continue following the gentle arrow of time we've been exploring. Entropy will keep increasing as energy spreads out more and more evenly. Black holes will slowly evaporate through a process called Hawking radiation, taking unimaginably long times to disappear completely. A black hole with the mass of our Sun would take longer to evaporate than the current age of the universe multiplied by itself 64 times. Even protons, the stable particles that make up atomic nuclei, might eventually decay, though this would take so long that the number of years involved would have more digits than there are atoms in the observable universe. But here's what makes this cosmic story so beautiful rather than melancholy. This heat death represents the universe achieving perfect peace. In this final state, there will be no more conflicts between hot and cold, no more struggle between order and disorder, no more energy flowing desperately from high concentration areas to low concentration areas. Everything will exist in perfect thermal harmony, like a cosmic meditation where all tensions have dissolved into absolute stillness and balance. This doesn't mean the universe will be empty or dead in any meaningful sense. There will still be particles, still be quantum fluctuations, still be the gentle dance of possibility that characterizes reality at its deepest level. Some theories suggest that even in this state of maximum entropy, quantum fluctuations might occasionally create small regions of lower entropy, perhaps even generating new universes through quantum tunneling. The heat death might not be an ending, but rather a transformation into a different kind of existence, one we can barely imagine from our current perspective. The beautiful thing about contemplating this distant future is how it puts our current moment in cosmic perspective. We're living during the universe's most creative period, when stars are actively forming, when planets can harbour life, when consciousness can emerge to contemplate its own existence. The energy flows that make life possible, the temperature differences that drive weather and ocean currents, the nuclear fusion in stars that creates the heavy elements essential for biology. All of these are temporary gifts, cosmic processes that will eventually wind down as the universe settles into its final state of peaceful equilibrium. As you drift towards sleep tonight, you can rest knowing that you're part of this grand cosmic story, living during the universe's most vibrant chapter, when time's arrow still points toward increasing complexity and beauty, when there's still enough energy flowing through the cosmos to create the miracle of consciousness contemplating itself under starlight. In the vast cosmic story of entropy and time's gentle arrow pointing toward greater disorder, life represents the most beautiful paradox imaginable. While the universe slowly spreads its energy into ever more relaxed and distributed states, life quietly performs what seems like magic. It creates order from disorder, builds complexity from simplicity, and maintains intricate patterns of organization in defiance of entropy's gentle pull toward randomness. Yet life doesn't actually violate the laws of thermodynamics. Instead, it dances with them in the most elegant way possible, creating local pockets of increasing order while contributing to the universe's overall movement toward greater entropy. Think of life as nature's most patient and skilled architect, constantly building elaborate structures from the simple materials that surround it. A single plant in your garden performs miracles of organization every day, capturing the random energy of sunlight and using it to build complex molecules from simple ones. Carbon dioxide from the air, water from the soil, and photons from the sun. These simple ingredients are transformed through photosynthesis into the intricate sugars, proteins, and other molecules that make the plant's existence possible. The plant creates order within itself, but it does so by spreading disorder elsewhere, releasing heat and waste products that increase the overall entropy of its environment. This delicate balance between creating order and spreading disorder is life's secret to thriving in a universe governed by entropy. Every living thing, from the smallest bacteria to the most complex human brain, is essentially a temporary eddy in the flow of energy through the cosmos. We capture energy from our environment, whether through photosynthesis, eating other organisms, or breathing oxygen to burn fuel in our cells, and we use that energy to maintain our complex organized structures. But we can only do this by releasing heat and waste products, by contributing to the universe's overall march toward greater entropy. Your own body is performing this beautiful dance right now as you rest here listening to these words. Your cells are constantly breaking down the food you've eaten and the oxygen you've breathed, releasing energy that keeps your heart beating, your brain thinking, your muscles relaxed and ready for tomorrow's activities. This process generates heat that radiates away from your body into the cooler air around you, and waste products that your body will eliminate, both contributing to the universe's overall increase in entropy. You are simultaneously a creator of order within yourself and a participant in disorder's cosmic spread. What makes life's rebellion against entropy so particularly beautiful is how it creates not just any kind of order, but meaningful, functional, adaptive order. The organization within a living cell isn't random or arbitrary, it's precisely structured to enable the processes of life. DNA molecules carry information with exquisite precision. Proteins fold into exactly the right shapes to catalyze specific chemical reactions, and cellular membranes maintain just the right permeability to allow essential substances in while keeping harmful ones out. This isn't mere organization, it's organization with purpose, structure with function, complexity that serves the continuation of life itself. Evolution adds another layer to life's gentle rebellion, showing us how living systems not only maintain order, but actually increase in complexity over time. Through the patient process of natural selection, life explores countless variations and builds upon successful innovations, creating ever more sophisticated ways of capturing energy, processing information, and adapting to changing environments. The evolution from simple single-celled organisms to complex multicellular life, from basic nervous systems to human consciousness, represents billions of years of life steadily becoming more organized, more complex, more capable of creating local order, even as the universe around it becomes more disordered. This evolutionary increase in complexity doesn't violate thermodynamics because it's powered by the steady flow of energy from the sun. Our star burns through its fuel, converting organized nuclear energy into the scattered heat and light that eventually reach Earth. Life captures a tiny fraction of this energy and uses it to build and maintain the incredible complexity we see in living systems. The sun's entropy increases far more than life's entropy decreases, so the overall entropy of the Sun-Earth system continues to grow even as life becomes more complex and organized. The emergence of consciousness represents perhaps the most remarkable aspect of life's rebellion against entropy. Your ability to think, to remember, to plan for the future, to appreciate beauty, to contemplate your own existence. These represent the universe becoming aware of itself through the organized complexity of your brain. Consciousness creates order, not just in the physical arrangement of neurons, but in the realm of information and meaning. Your thoughts and memories are patterns of organization that exist in addition to the physical order of your brain structure. Life's gentle rebellion teaches us something profound about time's arrow and our place in cosmic history. While the universe moves irreversibly toward greater entropy, life shows us that this journey need not be simple or uniform. Instead, the path from order to disorder can be filled with beautiful temporary eddies of increasing complexity, islands of organization that burn brightly for a while, before contributing their energy back to the cosmic flow. We are not victims of entropy, but participants in its most creative expression, temporary patterns of order that emerge from disorder and will eventually return to it, but in the meantime, create meaning, beauty, and the miracle of consciousness contemplating its own existence. In the gentle realm where physics meets philosophy, there exists a profound connection between information and entropy that whispers one of the deepest secrets about time's arrow. Information, it turns out, isn't just abstract data floating in some ethereal computational space. It's as physical and real as the warmth of sunlight on your face or the weight of your head against your pillow. Every bit of information, from the simple fact of whether a coin shows heads or tails to the complex patterns that encode your memories, has a physical presence in the universe and contributes to the irreversible flow of time in ways that are both beautiful and mysterious. This revelation began with a quiet insight from a physicist named Rolf Landauer in the early 1960s. Landauer was contemplating the relationship between computation and physics when he realized something profound. To erase information from a physical system requires energy, and that energy must be dissipated as heat into the environment. This might sound abstract, but it means that every time you delete a file from your computer, every time your brain forgets something unimportant to make room for new memories, every time nature erases information from any physical system, entropy increases somewhere in the universe. The act of forgetting, of losing information, contributes to time's gentle arrow. Think about the hard drive in your computer or phone, where countless bits of information are stored as tiny magnetic patterns. Each bit represents a choice between two possibilities, a 1 or a 0, a yes or a no, a this or a that. When your device erases information to make room for new data, it's not just changing abstract numbers in some virtual space. It's actually rearranging physical magnetic domains, and according to Landauer's principle, this process must release a small amount of heat. The energy required to erase each bit of information is incredibly tiny, about 1,000 times smaller than the energy needed to flip a single atom, but it's measurably real and contributes to the universe's overall entropy increase. This connection between information and thermodynamics becomes even more beautiful when we consider how life processes and stores information. Your DNA contains an enormous amount of information, roughly 3 billion bits encoding the instructions for building and maintaining your body. But this information isn't static. It's constantly being copied, read, edited, and sometimes lost. Every time a cell divides and copies its DNA, every time a gene is expressed to create a protein, every time a mutation occurs, information is being processed in ways that contribute to entropy's gentle increase. Your body maintains its incredible complexity partly by carefully managing its information processing, keeping the essential data accurate while allowing non-critical information to degrade gradually. Your brain represents perhaps the most sophisticated information processing system we know of in the universe. The patterns of connections between your neurons encode memories, skills, knowledge, and the very essence of your consciousness. But maintaining this vast library of information requires constant energy. Your brain uses about 20% of your body's total energy budget just to keep its information systems running smoothly. Some of this energy goes into strengthening important memories, while some goes into the equally important process of forgetting, allowing less relevant information to fade so that more important patterns can remain clear and accessible. This relationship between information, energy, and entropy helps explain why forgetting is not just inevitable, but actually necessary for healthy brain function. If your brain tried to maintain every piece of information it ever encountered with perfect fidelity, the energy cost would be enormous, and the important patterns would become lost in an overwhelming sea of trivial details. Instead, your brain has evolved elegant mechanisms for deciding what information to preserve and what to let fade, balancing the benefits of remembering against the thermodynamic costs of maintaining perfect information storage. The universe itself can be viewed as a vast information processing system, where every particle interaction represents a computation, every quantum measurement creates new information about the state of reality, and every instance of entropy increase corresponds to information being spread out or lost. Black holes, those mysterious cosmic objects where gravity becomes so strong that not even light can escape, might be the universe's ultimate information storage devices. Some theories suggest that all the information about everything that ever falls into a black hole remains somehow preserved on its surface, creating a holographic record of cosmic events that maintains information even as it appears to be lost forever. This perspective suggests that time's arrow might be fundamentally linked to the universe's capacity to process and store information. As the cosmos evolves from simple, low-entropy states toward more complex high-entropy states, it's also moving from states containing relatively little information toward states rich with information about everything that has happened. The universe is like a vast library that's constantly being written, with each moment adding new pages to the story of cosmic evolution, each irreversible process contributing another sentence to the ongoing narrative of reality. As you drift towards sleep tonight, your brain will engage in its own gentle information processing, consolidating the day's experiences into lasting memories while allowing less important details to fade into the peaceful darkness of forgetting. This process isn't just happening in your mind. It's part of the fundamental cosmic dance between information and entropy that gives time its direction and meaning. In the deepest corners of modern physics, scientists have discovered something so beautiful and unexpected that it challenges our understanding of time itself. Crystals that beat with their own temporal rhythm, structures that repeat not just in space but in time, creating patterns that pulse with the universe's most fundamental heartbeat. These are called time crystals, and they represent one of the most fascinating discoveries about the nature of temporal order, showing us that even in a universe governed by entropy's gentle arrow, there are ways to create perpetual motion that doesn't violate the laws of physics, but instead dances with them in the most elegant way imaginable. To understand time crystals, imagine first the familiar crystals you might find in a quiet cave or displayed in a peaceful mineral collection. Regular crystals like salt or quartz have atoms arranged in perfectly repeating patterns that extend through space. Each unit cell looks exactly like its neighbors, creating beautiful geometric structures that repeat infinitely in all three spatial dimensions. This spatial periodicity gives crystals their characteristic shapes and many of their useful properties. But time crystals add something entirely new to this picture. They also repeat their patterns through time, creating structures that have the same configuration now as they will have at regular intervals in the future, like cosmic metronomes keeping time with the universe itself. The first time crystals were created in laboratories around 2016, though the theoretical possibility had been contemplated by Nobel laureate Frank Wilczek in 2012. These aren't mystical or magical objects, but rather carefully engineered quantum systems that scientists create using techniques so precise they can manipulate individual atoms and control their quantum states with extraordinary accuracy. The time crystals exist in systems that are periodically driven by external forces. Imagine gently nudging a quantum system at regular intervals, like tapping a bell every few seconds. In most systems, this regular nudging would simply cause the system to oscillate at the same frequency as the driving force. But time crystals do something remarkable. They oscillate at exactly half the frequency of the driving force, creating their own temporal rhythm that's related to but distinct from the external timing. What makes time crystals so profound is that they seem to achieve a kind of perpetual motion without violating the laws of thermodynamics. They're not creating energy from nothing, and they're not decreasing the universe's overall entropy. Instead, they exist in what physicists call non-equilibrium steady states. They're constantly being driven by external energy, but they use that energy to maintain their temporal periodicity rather than simply heating up or spreading their energy randomly. They're like cosmic dancers who can maintain their rhythm indefinitely as long as someone keeps playing the music, but the dance they perform has its own intrinsic pattern that's more complex than the music that drives it. These quantum time crystals exist at temperatures close to absolute zero and require incredibly sophisticated experimental setups to create and maintain. They're made from systems like chains of trapped ions or networks of quantum spins that can be controlled with laser pulses and magnetic fields of extraordinary precision. In these systems, the individual quantum particles become synchronized in ways that create collective behaviors. The whole system starts beating with a rhythm that emerges from the quantum interactions between its parts, but is more complex and beautiful than the sum of its individual components. The discovery of time crystals adds a new chapter to our understanding of how order and disorder can coexist in the universe. While entropy still increases overall, and time still flows in its familiar forward direction, time crystals show us that within this general trend toward greater randomness, it's possible to create islands of temporal order that persist indefinitely. They're like eddies in time's river that maintain their swirling patterns even as the river continues flowing toward the sea of maximum entropy. Time crystals also reveal something beautiful about the relationship between symmetry and time. Just as regular crystals break spatial symmetry by having atoms arranged in specific patterns rather than randomly distributed, time crystals break temporal symmetry by having events repeat at specific intervals rather than happening randomly in time. This temporal symmetry breaking creates new possibilities for how matter can behave, opening up potential applications in quantum computing and precision timekeeping that we're only beginning to explore. The existence of time crystals connects to deeper questions about the nature of time itself. They suggest that the fabric of time might be richer and more structured than we previously imagined, capable of supporting patterns and rhythms that persist across cosmic timescales. Some theorists speculate that time crystals might exist naturally in certain cosmic environments, perhaps in the cores of neutron stars or in the quantum vacuum itself, creating temporal rhythms that have been beating since the early universe. As you rest here in the gentle darkness, your own body is maintaining countless biological rhythms: your heartbeat, your breathing, the circadian cycles that regulate your sleep and waking. These aren't time crystals in the quantum physics sense, but they're beautiful examples of how life creates temporal patterns that persist across time, maintaining their own rhythms while participating in the larger cosmic dance of entropy and order that flows through every moment of existence. Deep within the quiet architecture of your brain, nestled behind your eyes in a region smaller than a grain of rice, lies one of nature's most elegant timepieces, your biological clock, gently ticking away with a rhythm so reliable that it rivals the precision of atomic clocks. This tiny cluster of neurons, called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, serves as your body's master conductor, orchestrating the beautiful symphony of daily rhythms that guide everything from when you feel sleepy to when your body temperature naturally rises and falls. Right now, as you rest in the darkness, this internal timekeeper is working quietly to synchronize your physiology with the ancient rhythm of day and night that has shaped life on Earth for billions of years. Your circadian clock doesn't just tell time, it creates time within your body, establishing approximately 24-hour cycles that influence nearly every aspect of your physiology. Throughout the day, this biological timekeeper orchestrates gentle waves of hormone release, carefully timing when cortisol should rise to help you wake up, when melatonin should increase to prepare you for sleep, when your body temperature should peak during active hours and dip during rest. These aren't arbitrary fluctuations, but rather precisely coordinated cycles that have evolved to help your body anticipate and prepare for the predictable changes that come with Earth's rotation. What makes this internal clock so remarkable is how it maintains its rhythm even in complete isolation from external time cues. If you were placed in a cave with no access to sunlight, clocks, or any other indicators of time's passage, your body would continue cycling through periods of alertness and sleepiness, with a rhythm that stays remarkably close to 24 hours. This demonstrates that the circadian clock isn't simply responding to environmental signals, it's generating its own temporal patterns from within, creating a river of biological time that flows parallel to cosmic time but springs from the cellular mechanisms of life itself. The molecular machinery that creates these biological rhythms is a beautiful example of how life organizes time at the cellular level. Deep within each of your cells, networks of genes turn on and off in carefully choreographed sequences, creating molecular oscillations that pulse with circadian periodicity. Proteins accumulate gradually throughout the day, then trigger their own destruction as they reach peak levels, creating cycles of molecular abundance and scarcity that repeat approximately every 24 hours. These cellular clocks exist throughout your body, in your liver, your heart, your muscles, even in individual skin cells, all synchronized by the master clock in your brain. Light serves as the primary conductor that keeps your internal orchestra playing in harmony with the external world. When photons enter your eyes, they travel along a special pathway that leads directly to your circadian clock, carrying information about whether it's day or night in the world outside your body. This isn't the same pathway that creates vision, it's a dedicated temporal channel that exists solely to keep your biological rhythms synchronized with the solar day. Even people who are completely blind often maintain normal circadian rhythms because this light detection system operates independently of conscious visual perception. Your sleep-wake cycle represents the most obvious expression of your circadian clock, but the rhythms extend far deeper into your physiology than you might imagine. Your immune system follows circadian patterns, with certain defensive functions being more active during the day when you're likely to encounter pathogens, while tissue repair and cellular maintenance peak during sleep, when your body can focus its energy inward. Your digestive system anticipates meal times, preparing enzymes and hormones based on when you typically eat. Even your ability to think clearly, remember information, and solve problems fluctuates predictably throughout the day, according to your circadian rhythms. The beauty of these biological rhythms lies in how they connect your personal experience of time to the cosmic timescales we've been exploring. Your circadian clock evolved to match Earth's rotation period, linking your internal sense of time to the planet's movement through space. When you feel sleepy as evening approaches, you're experiencing the result of millions of years of evolution that shaped life to dance with the rhythm of our planet's spin. Your body carries within it an echo of Earth's relationship with the sun, a biological memory of the day-night cycles that have remained constant throughout the evolution of life on our planet. Modern life sometimes challenges these ancient rhythms, with artificial lighting extending our exposure to light far into the evening hours, and shift work asking our bodies to be alert when our circadian clocks expect us to sleep. Understanding your biological clock helps explain why jet lag feels so disorienting. It's not just tiredness, but rather the temporary desynchronization between your internal time and the external time of your new location. Your circadian clock takes several days to gradually adjust to a new schedule, slowly shifting its rhythms to match the local patterns of light and darkness. As you prepare for sleep tonight, you're working in harmony with billions of years of evolutionary wisdom encoded in your circadian rhythms. The drowsiness you feel isn't just fatigue from the day's activities. It's your biological clock gently preparing your body for the restorative processes that happen during sleep, orchestrating the precise timing that allows your mind and body to repair, consolidate memories, and prepare for tomorrow's gentle adventure through time. There's something profoundly beautiful about the way time leaves its gentle signature on every living thing, including you. Aging isn't just the passage of years marked on calendars, it's time's most intimate expression, written into the very cells of your body through processes so fundamental that they connect your personal journey through life to the universe's grand movement from order toward entropy. Every breath you take, every heartbeat, every moment of consciousness represents another gentle step along the one-way path that all living things follow, a journey that transforms the raw energy of youth into the deeper wisdom and settled grace that can only come with time's patient touch. At the cellular level, aging reveals time's arrow through the gradual accumulation of molecular changes that unfold irreversibly throughout your lifetime. Your DNA, that beautiful molecular library that contains the instructions for building and maintaining your body, experiences countless tiny alterations over the years. Some of these changes come from the simple passage of time, the spontaneous chemical reactions that occasionally modify DNA bases, the gradual shortening of telomeres that protect chromosome ends like plastic caps on shoelaces, the slow accumulation of cellular debris that even your body's sophisticated cleanup systems can't entirely eliminate. These aren't signs of failure, but rather the natural expression of entropy at work within the organized complexity of life. Your telomeres offer one of the most poetic examples of how time's passage is written into your biology. These protective DNA sequences at the ends of your chromosomes grow slightly shorter each time your cells divide, like a biological clock that counts down the cellular generations. With each division, a small portion of the telomere is sacrificed to protect the essential genetic information, creating a molecular calendar that tracks your body's journey through time. When telomeres become critically short, cells stop dividing and enter a peaceful state called senescence, contributing to the gentle changes in tissue function that accumulate over decades of life. The proteins in your body also carry time's signature, undergoing gradual modifications that reflect their long service in maintaining your biological systems. Some proteins become cross-linked with sugars through a process called glycation, creating advanced glycation end products that accumulate like molecular fossils of metabolic history. Others suffer oxidative damage from the reactive molecules generated during normal cellular metabolism, bearing the gentle scars of a lifetime spent converting energy into the processes of life. These changes happen slowly, almost imperceptibly, but they create the gradual shifts in tissue properties that mark the passage of biological time. What makes aging so beautifully paradoxical is how it represents both order and disorder working together. While your body's systems gradually become less efficient and more variable, hallmarks of increasing entropy, they often compensate by developing new patterns of organization and adaptation. Your brain, for example, may show some decline in processing speed as you age, but it often compensates by forming new connections between different regions, creating alternative pathways for information flow that can actually enhance certain types of problem-solving and wisdom. This is entropy and order dancing together, creating the unique combination of experience and adaptation that characterizes the aging mind. The immune system's changes with age illustrate another aspect of time's gentle touch. Over decades, your immune system accumulates a vast library of memories about the pathogens it has encountered, creating a sophisticated archive of cellular recognition that provides protection based on life experience. At the same time, the system's ability to respond to entirely new threats gradually declines, reflecting the universal biological trend toward more specialized, less flexible responses over time. This isn't simply deterioration, it's the natural outcome of a system optimized for learning and memory rather than indefinite renewal. Aging also reveals the deep connection between individual biology and cosmic timescales. The rate at which you age is influenced by factors that connect your personal timeline to the broader universe. The cosmic radiation that has been streaming through space since the early universe, the gravitational field of Earth that affects cellular processes in subtle ways, the solar cycles that influence climate and environmental conditions throughout your lifetime. Your aging process is gently synchronized with planetary and cosmic rhythms that extend far beyond your individual existence. Different cultures have understood aging's relationship to time in beautiful ways that complement the scientific understanding. Many traditions view aging not as decline, but as accumulation, the gathering of experience, wisdom, and spiritual depth that can only come through the patient passage of years. In this perspective, the visible signs of aging are like medals of honor, evidence of a life fully lived within time's flowing current. The lines on an elder's face are maps of laughter and concern. The slower movements are evidence of a body that has served faithfully through decades of experience. The gentle art of growing older teaches us something profound about time's arrow and our place within it. We cannot reverse the biological processes that mark our passage through time, but we can appreciate how these changes connect us to the fundamental rhythms of the universe. Every silver hair, every laugh line, every gentle slowing of step represents your participation in the cosmic story of time's flow, evidence that you have been present for your allotted portion of the universe's unfolding narrative, contributing your own unique thread to the vast tapestry of existence that moves eternally from past toward future. Beneath your feet lies the most patient diary ever written, a gentle chronicle that has been recording the passage of time for over 4.5 billion years. Earth itself serves as a vast library where each layer of rock, each fossil embedded in stone, each grain of sand tells part of the story of deep time. Timescales so immense that they make human history feel like a single breath in the planet's long, slow respiration. The ground you walk on carries within it the signatures of ancient seas, vanished mountains, and creatures that lived and died millions of years before humans ever gazed at the stars and wondered about their place in the cosmic story. The rocks beneath you are arranged like pages in an enormous book, with the oldest chapters buried deepest and the most recent stories written on the surface. This isn't accidental, but represents one of geology's most beautiful expressions of time's arrow, the principle of superposition, which tells us that in undisturbed layers of sedimentary rock, the bottom layers formed before the top layers. Each stratum represents a moment in Earth's history when sediments settled gently to the bottom of ancient seas, lakes, or river deltas, carrying with them the chemical signatures and fossil remains of the life and environment that existed at that particular moment in deep time. Reading Earth's diary requires the gentle art of radiometric dating, a process that relies on the steady, irreversible decay of radioactive elements trapped within rocks and minerals. When molten rock cools and crystallizes, it captures radioactive isotopes like uranium, potassium, and carbon that serve as natural clocks, ticking away the years through their gradual transformation into more stable elements. The beauty of radioactive decay is how it provides an absolute measure of time's passage. Each radioactive element has its own precise half-life, the time required for exactly half of any sample to decay, creating a cosmic metronome that beats with perfect regularity regardless of temperature, pressure, or chemical environment. Scientists use different radioactive clocks to read different chapters of Earth's story. Carbon-14, with its relatively short half-life of about 5,700 years, helps date organic materials from the recent past. The charcoal from ancient campfires, the wood from Viking ships, the bones of Ice Age mammals. For older rocks, geologists turn to longer-lived isotopes like potassium-40, which decays to argon-40 with a half-life of over 1 billion years, or uranium-238, which transforms through a complex chain of decay products over more than 4 billion years. These natural timepieces allow scientists to assign absolute ages to rocks and fossils, creating a temporal framework that spans from yesterday's volcanic eruption to the earliest minerals formed during Earth's infancy. Fossils serve as some of the most touching entries in Earth's diary, preserving the delicate details of ancient life in stone. The process of fossilization itself demonstrates time's arrow beautifully. Organic materials gradually give way to minerals that preserve the shape and sometimes even the internal structure of once living organisms. A trilobite fossil in your local museum represents a creature that crawled across the ocean floor hundreds of millions of years ago. Its remains slowly transformed through geological processes that could only move forward through time. These ancient creatures never knew they would become time capsules, yet their fossilized forms now serve as profound messengers from Earth's distant past. The magnetic field recorded in ancient rocks provides another gentle way that Earth documents its own history. As iron-rich minerals crystallize from cooling magma, they align themselves with Earth's magnetic field like tiny compass needles frozen in stone. Over geological time, Earth's magnetic field has reversed many times, with magnetic north and south poles switching places in a process that takes thousands of years to complete. These magnetic reversals are preserved in the rock record, creating a striped pattern of normal and reversed magnetization that serves as a global fingerprint for different time periods. Scientists can read this magnetic diary to understand not only when rocks formed, but also how continents have drifted, and ocean basins have opened and closed over hundreds of millions of years. Plate tectonics adds another dimension to Earth's temporal story, showing us how the planet's surface has been constantly but slowly reorganizing itself throughout geological time. The ocean floors serve as conveyor belts of time, with new crust forming at mid-ocean ridges and old crust disappearing into the mantle at subduction zones. This process, operating at the stately pace of a few centimeters per year, has completely renewed the ocean floor multiple times throughout Earth's history, while preserving much older continental rocks that serve as archives of the planet's earliest chapters. The beauty of geological time lies in how it connects the immediate moment of your existence to the vast sweep of planetary history. The oxygen you breathe was largely created by ancient cyanobacteria over 2 billion years ago. The coal that might heat your home formed from forests that grew in steamy swamps during the Carboniferous period. The mountains visible on your horizon rose through collisions between continents that occurred tens of millions of years ago. You're not separate from Earth's story, but rather a participant in its latest chapter, a conscious being capable of reading the planet's diary and understanding your place within the magnificent temporal epic that connects the formation of the first minerals to this very moment of contemplation under starlight. Long before written language existed, long before humans learned to record their thoughts in symbols and letters, our ancestors were already deeply aware of time's passage and flow. They felt the rhythm of seasons in their bones, watched the stars wheel overhead in their eternal dance, and noticed how the sun's path across the sky changed gradually throughout the year. This intimate relationship with cosmic time led them to create some of humanity's most enduring monuments: stone circles, earthen mounds, and carefully aligned structures that served as both calendars and temples, marking the sacred moments when celestial time touched earthly existence. These ancient timepieces scattered across every continent whisper to us still about humanity's age-old quest to understand and harmonize with time's gentle flow. Stonehenge stands as perhaps the most famous of these ancient chronometers, its massive trilithons arranged with such precision that they frame the rising sun on the summer solstice and the setting sun on the winter solstice. But this iconic monument is just one voice in a global chorus of stone-built timepieces. In Egypt, the Great Pyramid's passages align with specific stars and cardinal directions, with an accuracy that rivals modern instruments. In Cambodia, the temple complex of Angkor Wat mirrors the cosmos in stone, its layout corresponding to the cycles of Hindu cosmology and its central tower aligned to catch the spring equinox sunrise. From the medicine wheels of North America to the stone circles of Scotland, from the astronomical alignments of Machu Picchu to the solar observatories of ancient China, humans have been building monuments to time for thousands of years. What makes these ancient observatories so profound is how they demonstrate humanity's early understanding that time isn't just a linear progression of days, but a complex weaving of multiple cycles, daily, lunar, seasonal, and stellar rhythms that interact in beautiful, predictable patterns. The builders of these monuments weren't simply tracking time, they were creating sacred spaces where human consciousness could align itself with cosmic time, where the community could gather to mark the moments when time itself seemed to pause and turn toward new seasons, new cycles, new possibilities. The summer solstice wasn't just the longest day, but a moment of temporal significance when the sun reached its northernmost journey and began its slow return toward winter. These stone calendars reveal how different cultures understood time's relationship to place and meaning. Many ancient monuments incorporate not just solar alignments, but lunar cycles as well, tracking the moon's complex 18.6-year cycle that brings it to extreme northern and southern positions in the sky. The builders of sites like Newgrange Island and Chanquillo in Peru demonstrated sophisticated understanding of these celestial rhythms, creating monuments that could predict eclipses, mark important agricultural seasons, and maintain cultural continuity across generations by preserving astronomical knowledge in stone. Archaeological evidence shows us how these ancient timekeepers were built and rebuilt over centuries, with each generation adding refinements and modifications that improved their astronomical accuracy. This multi-generational construction process reveals something beautiful about how ancient peoples understood their relationship to time. They were building not just for their own lifetimes, but for future generations, creating monuments that would continue marking time's passage long after their creators had returned to dust. The construction of these sites represents humanity's first great collaborative effort to externalize time, to create physical structures that could hold and preserve temporal knowledge across the generations. The precision of these ancient alignments often surpasses what seems possible, given the tools available to their builders. The Goseck Circle in Germany, built over 7,000 years ago, marks the winter solstice sunrise and sunset with an accuracy of just a few minutes of arc. The Nabta Playa stone circle in Egypt, constructed around 6,000 years ago, aligns with stars that were important to ancient African astronomers. These achievements required not just mathematical skill, but generations of patient observation, careful note-taking, and the gradual accumulation of astronomical knowledge that was passed down through oral traditions and preserved in the careful placement of standing stones. What's particularly moving about these ancient monuments is how they connect us to the universal human experience of living within time's flow. When you stand at Stonehenge on the summer solstice and watch the sun rise perfectly framed by the trilithons, you're sharing an experience with countless generations of humans who gathered at the same spot for the same purpose. The monument serves as a bridge across time, connecting your momentary experience to the deep current of human awareness that stretches back thousands of years. These ancient timepieces also reveal how astronomy and spirituality were intimately connected in early human consciousness. Time wasn't seen as abstract or mechanical, but as sacred and alive, intimately connected to the cycles of life, death, and renewal that governed both human existence and the natural world. The careful astronomical alignments built into temples and burial chambers suggest that ancient peoples understood time as a dimension through which the sacred could manifest, moments when the boundary between earthly existence and cosmic order became thin and permeable. As you rest under tonight's stars, you're connected to this ancient tradition of human timekeeping, participating in the same fundamental relationship between consciousness and cosmic rhythm that inspired our ancestors to move massive stones and align them with celestial precision, creating monuments to time that continue whispering their ancient wisdom about humanity's place in the eternal dance of cosmic cycles. There's something deeply mysterious about the way time feels different when you're experiencing various emotions, as if your heart's rhythm somehow conducts the tempo at which moments unfold in your consciousness. When you're anxiously waiting for important news, minutes can stretch like taffy, each second feeling heavy and slow despite the clock ticking at its usual steady pace. But when you're absorbed in something you love, perhaps reading a captivating book, having a wonderful conversation, or simply lying here listening to these gentle words, hours can slip by like water through your fingers, leaving you surprised at how much time has passed while you were fully present in the experience. This isn't just imagination. It's your brain's beautiful and complex relationship with temporal perception, showing us how psychological time flows at its own rhythm, sometimes harmonious with clock time, sometimes dancing to an entirely different beat. Your emotional state creates one of the most powerful influences on how you experience time's passage. When you're feeling anxious or stressed, your brain becomes hypervigilant about monitoring time, constantly checking and rechecking how much time has elapsed, how much time remains until some anticipated event. This temporal hyper-awareness makes time feel sluggish and oppressive, like walking through thick honey. Your amygdala, the brain region responsible for processing threat and emotion, seems to hijack your temporal perception, making you exquisitely sensitive to every passing moment as if time itself has become a source of discomfort that must be carefully watched. Joy and engagement create the opposite effect, allowing you to slip into what psychologists call flow states, where self-consciousness disappears and you become fully absorbed in the present moment. During these experiences, your brain stops its constant temporal monitoring and instead focuses entirely on the task or experience at hand. Without that internal timekeeper constantly announcing the passage of moments, your subjective experience of time becomes fluid and elastic. You might emerge from a flow state feeling like only minutes have passed, only to discover that hours have slipped by while you were fully immersed in the eternal now of complete engagement. Age profoundly influences this psychological relationship with time in ways that connect your personal experience to the deeper patterns we've been exploring. Children often experience time very differently than adults, with summers feeling endless and Christmas seeming impossibly far away. This isn't just because children have less experience with time's patterns, it's because their brains are processing such an enormous amount of new information that their memories are incredibly rich and detailed. When you look back on any period of your life, it feels longer if it was filled with novel experiences and shorter if it was routine and familiar. Childhood, packed with first experiences and constant learning, creates dense memories that make past time feel expansive when recalled. As you age, the proportion of your life that any given time period represents gradually shrinks, which may contribute to the common feeling that time accelerates as you get older. A year to a 10-year-old represents 10% of their entire existence, while a year to a 50-year-old represents only 2% of their life experience. This mathematical relationship might partially explain why childhood summers felt endless, while adult years seem to rush by, but the phenomenon runs deeper than simple arithmetic. Attention plays a crucial role in shaping your temporal experience. When you're fully present and engaged, paying close attention to the details of your experience, time often feels richer and more spacious. This is why mindfulness practices often emphasize present moment awareness, not just as a spiritual exercise, but as a way of actually changing your relationship with time itself. By learning to focus your attention deliberately, you can sometimes step out of the rushing river of psychological time and rest in the more spacious awareness of the eternal present that exists beneath the surface of temporal experience. Cultural differences in temporal perception reveal how learned patterns shape our relationship with time's flow. Some cultures emphasize precise scheduling and temporal efficiency, while others prioritize relationships and natural rhythms over clock time. These different approaches aren't just social conventions, they actually shape how people in those cultures experience the passage of time, demonstrating that psychological time is partially constructed through cultural learning and shared meaning. Memory's relationship to temporal perception creates another layer of beautiful complexity. Your brain doesn't just store events, it stores them with temporal tags that help organize your personal history into the coherent narrative of your life. But these temporal tags can be surprisingly fluid and inaccurate. Events that were emotionally significant often feel more recent than they actually were, while routine periods can seem to have passed more quickly than their actual duration. Your brain prioritizes emotional significance over temporal accuracy when constructing your memories, creating a personal timeline that's organized more by meaning than by clock time. The heart's own tempo extends beyond metaphor into the realm of measurable physiology. Your emotional state actually affects your heart rate variability, the subtle changes in timing between heartbeats that reflect your autonomic nervous system's response to internal and external conditions. During states of coherence, when you're feeling peaceful, grateful, or lovingly connected, your heart rhythm becomes more coherent and regular, creating a physiological harmony that may contribute to the sense of temporal flow and presence that characterizes these beautiful states of being. Across the vast tapestry of human cultures, wisdom traditions have contemplated time's nature with a depth and beauty that often anticipates the insights of modern physics. Long before scientists discovered entropy and time's arrow, Buddhist teachers spoke of impermanence as one of the fundamental characteristics of existence, observing how everything that arises must eventually pass away in an endless flow of becoming and dissolution. Hindu cosmology described time as cyclical rather than linear, with vast cosmic ages called kalpas stretching across billions of years, while Taoist philosophy found in the eternal present a doorway to understanding time's deepest mysteries. These ancient perspectives offer gentle wisdom about living harmoniously with time's flow, teaching us to find peace, not by resisting temporal change, but by aligning ourselves with the deeper currents that carry all existence forward through the cosmic dance of moments. Buddhist understanding of impermanence presents one of the most profound meditations on time's arrow, though expressed in the gentle language of contemplative wisdom rather than scientific equations. The Buddha taught that suffering arises largely from our resistance to impermanence, our tendency to cling to moments, experiences, and states of being that are naturally flowing away from us. This isn't a pessimistic teaching, but rather a profoundly liberating recognition that all of existence participates in the same flowing river of change that we've been exploring through the lens of modern physics. When you truly understand that everything, from your own thoughts and emotions to the stars themselves, is constantly changing, you can learn to hold your experiences more lightly, appreciating their beauty precisely because of their transient nature. The Buddhist concept of mindfulness offers a practical way of harmonizing with time's flow rather than fighting against it. When you practice present moment awareness, you're not trying to stop time or make moments last forever. Instead, you're learning to receive each moment fully as it arises and passes away. This practice reveals something beautiful about the nature of consciousness and time, that awareness itself seems to exist in a spacious present that somehow encompasses past and future without being trapped by either. In deep meditation, practitioners often report that their normal sense of temporal flow becomes very quiet, replaced by a sense of timeless presence that doesn't oppose time's passage, but rather rests in a deeper dimension that underlies temporal experience. Hindu cosmology presents time as a vast wheel of cosmic cycles, with creation and destruction alternating in patterns that span unimaginable eons. According to these traditions, we're currently living in the Kali Yuga, the final age of a cosmic cycle that will eventually dissolve and give birth to a new cycle of creation. This cyclical understanding of time differs markedly from the linear progression that Western science describes, yet it captures something profound about the way time operates on cosmic scales, the way stellar evolution moves through cycles of birth and death, the way galaxies form and merge and eventually disperse their matter back into the cosmic void. These ancient teachings suggest that time itself might be cyclical at the larger scales, with the universe potentially experiencing infinite cycles of expansion and contraction, creation and dissolution. Taoist philosophy offers perhaps the most gentle approach to understanding time's nature, emphasizing harmony with natural rhythms rather than analytical understanding. The concept of wu wei, or effortless action, suggests a way of living that flows with time's current rather than against it, finding the path of least resistance that allows life to unfold naturally without forcing or rushing. Taoist texts speak of the sage who accomplishes great things by doing nothing, not through inaction, but through such perfect alignment with natural timing that their actions seem effortless, like water flowing downhill or seeds sprouting in spring when conditions are naturally right. Indigenous wisdom traditions around the world offer their own beautiful perspectives on time's nature, often emphasizing the cyclical patterns of seasons, generations, and natural rhythms over linear progression. Many Native American traditions speak of time as a sacred hoop, where past, present, and future are all present simultaneously, and where the actions of ancestors continue to influence the present, while present actions shape the experience of future generations. This understanding sees time not as a line stretching from past to future, but as a living web of relationships that connects all moments and all beings in an eternal dance of mutual influence and care. These wisdom traditions share a common insight that proves remarkably consistent with modern physics, that time is not separate from the fabric of existence, but rather intimately woven into the very nature of reality itself. Whether expressed as impermanence, cosmic cycles, natural flow, or sacred relationship, these ancient teachings recognize that time's passage is not something that happens to us, but something we participate in at the deepest level of our being. They offer practical wisdom for living peacefully within time's flow, suggesting that resistance to temporal change creates suffering, while acceptance and alignment with time's natural rhythms create harmony and peace. The convergence between ancient wisdom and modern scientific understanding suggests that certain truths about time's nature are so fundamental that they can be approached through both contemplative inquiry and empirical investigation. Both paths lead to the recognition that time's arrow is not arbitrary, but reflects something essential about the nature of existence itself, that reality is fundamentally creative, constantly bringing forth new possibilities and new forms of beauty through the irreversible flow of moments that carries all of us gently forward in the cosmic story that began with the universe's first breath and continues with each conscious moment of awareness under the eternal stars. Understanding time's arrow doesn't diminish the beauty of daily existence, but rather enhances it, like learning the secret language that the universe has been speaking all around you, your entire life. When you know that the cream swirling through your morning coffee can never unswirl, that the warmth of sunlight on your face represents ancient stellar fire that can never return to its source, that each moment of consciousness is a unique configuration of atoms and energy that will never be repeated exactly the same way again, every ordinary experience becomes touched with a gentle poignancy that makes it infinitely more precious. This knowledge doesn't burden you with sadness, but rather invites you into a deeper appreciation for the temporary gifts that time's one-way flow brings to your awareness. The irreversible nature of time makes every moment of connection profoundly meaningful. When you share laughter with a friend, when you feel the soft breathing of a sleeping pet beside you, when you watch a sunset paint the sky in colours that will never be arranged quite the same way again, you're witnessing the universe's creative expression through time's forward flow. These moments can't be saved or preserved exactly as they are, but their irreversibility is precisely what makes them so beautiful. Like snowflakes that melt on your palm or shooting stars that streak across the night sky for just an instant, the temporary nature of these experiences is what gives them their particular magic and makes them worthy of your full attention and gratitude. Living with awareness of time's arrow can transform how you experience the simple rhythm of days and seasons. The changing light throughout a single day becomes a gentle reminder of Earth's rotation and your planet's journey through space. The gradual shift from autumn's golden warmth to winter's crisp clarity represents the irreversible progression through seasonal cycles that connect your personal experience to cosmic timescales. When you notice the first spring flowers pushing through the soil, you're witnessing entropy and order dancing together. The flower creates local organization by capturing sunlight and building complex structures, while contributing to the universe's overall increase in entropy through the heat and waste products of metabolism. The aging process, understood through the lens of time's arrow, becomes less something to resist and more something to embrace as your participation in the fundamental rhythms of existence. The gradual changes in your body and mind aren't signs of failure, but rather evidence that you're fully engaged in the cosmic process of transformation that affects everything from the smallest particles to the largest galaxies. The wisdom that comes with experience, the deepening of emotional understanding, the appreciation for subtlety and nuance that often develops over time, these represent the beautiful ways that consciousness can grow and become more complex even as the physical systems that support it follow time's gentle arrow toward greater entropy. Mindful awareness of impermanence can make routine activities feel fresh and significant. Preparing a meal becomes a meditation on transformation, as ingredients change irreversibly through cooking, combining flavors and textures in ways that create something entirely new from simple components. Cleaning your home becomes a gentle participation in the ongoing dance between order and entropy, temporarily creating organization while understanding that this too will relax into a more natural lived-in state. Even walking becomes a conscious movement through space-time, each step representing your unique path through the four-dimensional fabric of reality. The practice of gratitude takes on deeper meaning when you understand that everything you appreciate exists within time's flowing current. The people you love are temporary configurations of atoms and consciousness that emerge from cosmic processes and will eventually return to the universe through different forms. This doesn't diminish love, but rather makes it more precious, more worthy of expression, while the opportunity exists. The natural beauty around you, the trees, mountains, rivers, and sky, represents temporary arrangements of matter and energy that are constantly changing in response to time's arrow, making each moment of natural beauty a unique gift that will never exist in quite the same way again. Sleep itself becomes a beautiful metaphor for time's gentle progression when you understand it as your daily participation in the rhythms that connect your consciousness to cosmic cycles. As you prepare for sleep each night, you're aligning yourself with Earth's rotation, with the ancient rhythms of light and darkness that have shaped life for billions of years. The dreams that come during sleep represent your brain's processing of the day's experiences, consolidating memories and information in ways that contribute to the irreversible accumulation of experience that shapes your ongoing consciousness. Perhaps most beautifully, understanding time's arrow can help you appreciate the present moment, not as something to grasp or hold on to, but as something to receive fully and then release gracefully. Each breath you take brings you atoms that have been circulating through the atmosphere for millions of years, temporarily becoming part of your body before continuing their cosmic journey. Each moment of awareness represents consciousness briefly illuminating a particular configuration of matter and energy before that configuration dissolves and reforms into new patterns. You are both a temporary expression of the universe's creativity and a witness to its ongoing transformation, participating fully in time's gentle flow while maintaining the spacious awareness that can appreciate the eternal beauty of existence itself. In laboratories around the world, scientists are gently probing the deepest mysteries of time with experiments so precise and elegant that they're beginning to reveal secrets about temporal reality that could transform our understanding of existence itself. These researchers work with atomic clocks so accurate they wouldn't gain or lose a second in millions of years, quantum systems that can be manipulated one particle at a time, and theoretical frameworks that stretch our imagination toward possibilities we're only beginning to glimpse. The future of time research holds the promise of discoveries that might seem like science fiction today, but could become the gentle reality of tomorrow, opening doors to new ways of understanding and perhaps even influencing time's flow. One of the most fascinating frontiers involves the search for quantum gravity, the long-sought theory that would unite Einstein's description of space-time with the quantum mechanical rules that govern the smallest scales of reality. Some theories suggest that time itself might emerge from more fundamental quantum processes, like a river arising from countless tiny springs that only become apparent when viewed from sufficient distance. In this view, the smooth flow of time that we experience might be an approximation, a gentle average of quantum fluctuations that create and destroy tiny increments of temporal existence at scale so small that even our most sensitive instruments can't yet detect them. Researchers are designing experiments to look for signatures of this quantum spacetime, searching for subtle variations in time's flow that might reveal its underlying discrete structure. The exploration of closed time-like curves represents another frontier that pushes the boundaries of what might be possible within Einstein's framework of general relativity. While time travel to the past remains highly speculative and faces enormous theoretical obstacles, scientists continue to investigate whether the laws of physics absolutely forbid such possibilities, or whether there might be exotic configurations of matter and energy that could create pathways backward through time. These investigations aren't driven by dreams of changing the past, but rather by the desire to understand the fundamental constraints that physics places on temporal causality and the relationship between past, present, and future. Quantum computing opens entirely new ways of thinking about information processing and its relationship to time's arrow. Quantum computers operate by maintaining delicate superpositions of states that exist in a kind of temporal limbo until measurement collapses them into definite realities. As these systems become more sophisticated, they might allow us to explore the relationship between computation, information, and entropy in ways that could reveal new aspects of how time's arrow emerges from quantum processes. Some researchers speculate that sufficiently advanced quantum computers might even be able to simulate universe-scale systems, allowing us to study the emergence of time's direction in virtual realities that mirror our own cosmic evolution. The development of increasingly precise measurement techniques continues to reveal new subtleties in time's behavior. Atomic clocks have already confirmed Einstein's predictions about gravitational and velocity time dilation to extraordinary precision, but future generations of these instruments might be sensitive enough to detect previously unknown effects. Scientists are working on optical lattice clocks that could measure gravitational redshift over distances of just a few centimeters, potentially opening new windows into how gravity affects time's flow at everyday scales. These ultra-precise timekeepers might also help test whether fundamental constants like the speed of light have remained truly constant throughout cosmic history. The study of black holes continues to yield insights into time's most extreme behavior, and future gravitational wave detectors might allow us to observe temporal effects near these cosmic monsters with unprecedented detail. As black holes merge and spiral toward each other, they create ripples in space-time that carry information about how time behaves in regions of intense gravitational curvature. Advanced detectors might even be able to observe the formation of the event horizons, the boundaries where time becomes so distorted that signals can never escape back to the external universe. Biological research into aging and temporal perception offers another avenue for understanding time's role in living systems. Scientists are investigating whether it might be possible to slow or reverse some aspects of biological aging by understanding the molecular clocks that operate within our cells. While dramatically extending human lifespan remains speculative, research into the mechanisms of aging might reveal new ways that living systems relate to time's passage and perhaps ways to optimize our biological rhythms for health and longevity. The search for dark matter and dark energy, those mysterious components that make up most of the universe's content, might also reveal new aspects of time's nature. Some theories suggest that dark energy's apparent acceleration of cosmic expansion could be related to fundamental properties of time itself, while dark matter might interact with ordinary matter in ways that affect temporal processes. Future observations and experiments might uncover connections between these cosmic mysteries and the flow of time that we experience in our daily lives. Perhaps most intriguingly, some researchers are exploring whether consciousness itself plays a fundamental role in the emergence of time's arrow. While this remains highly speculative, the relationship between quantum measurement and conscious observation continues to generate new experiments and theoretical frameworks that might eventually reveal deep connections between awareness and temporal reality. As we develop better understanding of how consciousness relates to physical processes, we might discover that the experience of time's flow is more fundamental to reality's structure than we currently imagine, opening possibilities for understanding existence that integrate scientific and contemplative approaches to time's deepest mysteries. Living within time's gentle current with full awareness of its irreversible nature transforms every moment into something sacred, something worthy of the deepest appreciation and presence. When you truly understand that each experience you have is a unique configuration of consciousness, matter, and energy that will never be repeated exactly the same way again, your relationship with daily existence becomes infused with a quiet reverence that doesn't burden you with heaviness, but rather lifts you into a more spacious way of being. This awareness doesn't make you anxious about time's passage, but rather helps you settle more fully into each moment's particular gift, knowing that your conscious presence is both a temporary privilege and a profound responsibility in the cosmic story that unfolds through time's gentle arrow. The recognition that you are simultaneously a product of time's flow and a conscious participant in its unfolding creates a beautiful paradox that enriches every aspect of human experience. Your body is built from elements forged in ancient stellar furnaces billions of years ago. Your consciousness emerges from neural patterns that evolved over millions of years of biological time, and your capacity for awareness allows you to contemplate the very temporal processes that brought you into existence. You're not separate from time's arrow, but rather one of its most remarkable expressions, a temporary arrangement of matter and energy that has become capable of understanding its own place in the cosmic dance of entropy and order. Finding peace with time's irreversible nature requires a gentle shift from trying to control or stop time's flow to learning how to dance gracefully with its rhythm. This doesn't mean becoming passive or resigned, but rather discovering how to align your actions and intentions with the natural timing that governs everything from your circadian rhythms to the seasonal cycles that shape your environment. When you work with time's flow rather than against it, you often find that things unfold more easily and naturally, like a river that finds its way to the sea, not through force but through the patient following of landscape's contours. The practice of presence becomes a way of honouring time's preciousness without grasping desperately at moments as they pass. When you sit quietly and feel your breath moving in and out of your body, you're participating in the ancient rhythm of life that connects you to every breathing creature that has ever existed. When you listen deeply to the sounds around you, perhaps the gentle hum of distant traffic, the whisper of wind through trees, or the soft settling sounds of your home at rest, you're receiving the acoustic gifts that this particular moment offers, knowing that tomorrow's soundscape will be subtly different, shaped by time's continuing creativity. Accepting the transient nature of all experiences doesn't diminish their value, but rather intensifies their beauty and meaning. The fact that your loved ones are temporary configurations of consciousness makes your connections with them infinitely more precious. The fact that your own life represents a brief flowering of awareness in the vast cosmos makes every moment of consciousness a gift worthy of gratitude. The fact that the natural world around you is constantly changing through time's gentle influence makes each season, each weather pattern, each quality of light a unique offering that deserves your attention and appreciation. This understanding can transform how you approach both joy and difficulty in your life. Moments of happiness become more vivid when you appreciate their temporary nature, while periods of challenge become more bearable when you remember that they too are part of time's flowing current and will eventually transform into something else. Neither joy nor sorrow is permanent, and this impermanence isn't a flaw in existence, but rather the very quality that makes growth, healing, and transformation possible. The cultivation of temporal wisdom involves learning to live simultaneously in multiple timescales, honouring the immediate moment while also maintaining awareness of your place in longer rhythms. You can appreciate the taste of your morning coffee while also knowing that this simple pleasure connects you to global networks of agriculture, trade, and human cooperation that span continents and centuries. You can enjoy a conversation with a friend while also appreciating that this exchange of thoughts and feelings represents the universe becoming conscious of itself through the temporary arrangements of matter and energy that constitute your minds. The spiritual dimensions of living with time's arrow invite you to consider what might be eternal within the flow of temporal change. While your physical form and even your personality will eventually dissolve back into the cosmic processes from which they emerged, the love you express, the kindness you offer, the beauty you create, and the consciousness you bring to your experiences become part of the ongoing story of existence itself. Your awareness, while temporary in its current form, participates in the universe's capacity for self-reflection, an understanding that seems to be one of the most remarkable developments in cosmic evolution. As you prepare to drift into sleep tonight, you can rest in the gentle recognition that you're both a temporary wave in the ocean of existence and an integral part of the ocean itself. Your dreams will carry you through another cycle of rest and restoration, preparing your consciousness for tomorrow's opportunities to participate consciously in time's eternal dance, to witness its beauty, to contribute your own unique thread to the vast tapestry that stretches from the universe's first moment to its ultimate destiny, forever flowing forward in the magnificent river of time that carries all existence toward unknown but surely beautiful shores. Here we are, dear sleepy scientist, at the gentle end of our journey through time's beautiful mysteries. Like travellers who have wandered together through landscapes both familiar and strange, discovering that the river we thought we knew so well carries currents deeper and more wonderful than we ever imagined. We began this exploration by watching cream swirl into coffee, such a simple morning ritual, and we've travelled together through quantum realms and cosmic expanses, through the intimate chambers of consciousness and the vast scales of stellar evolution, all to understand why that cream can never unswirl, why yesterday remains forever in the past while tomorrow beckons from the eternal future. Time's arrow, we've discovered, isn't arbitrary or cruel, but rather the gentle expression of the universe's deepest nature, its fundamental creativity that brings forth new possibilities with each passing moment. The beautiful truth we've uncovered together is that time's one-way flow touches everything in existence. from the smallest quantum interactions to the grandest cosmic cycles, creating the magnificent tapestry of reality in which your consciousness has emerged as one of the most remarkable threads. Your memories of childhood exist because your brain can only write neural pathways forward through time, creating the precious archive of experiences that makes you uniquely you. The stars shine because nuclear fusion can only burn stellar fuel in one direction, creating the heavy elements that eventually became part of your body through billions of years of cosmic evolution. Your heartbeat marks time's passage because biological clocks evolved to synchronize with the ancient rhythms of day and night that have shaped life on Earth since consciousness first stirred in the primordial oceans. We've seen how entropy, that gentle tendency toward greater naturalness and balance, creates time's arrow not through any harsh mechanism, but through the universe's patient movement towards states of greater comfort and relaxation. Like guests at a cosmic party gradually spreading out from a crowded doorway into more spacious rooms, energy and matter naturally flow from concentrated arrangements toward more distributed ones, creating the irreversible progression from past toward future that carries your life forward through its precious sequence of moments. This isn't decay or loss, but rather the universe's way of exploring all the beautiful possibilities that exist within the space of potential experience. Even the strangest realms of quantum mechanics, where particles dance in clouds of possibility before collapsing into definite realities, contribute to time's gentle arrow through the countless microscopic moments of measurement and observation that build up into the macroscopic flow of causality. Your consciousness participates in this process, perhaps even helps create it, as your awareness witnesses and thereby helps collapse quantum possibilities into the actual experiences that become your life. The very fact that you can remember this journey we've taken together while being unable to remember tomorrow's dreams demonstrates your intimate participation in the fundamental asymmetry between past and future that gives existence its direction and meaning. Life itself, we've discovered, represents not a violation of entropy, but rather its most beautiful expression, creating temporary islands of increasing complexity and organization while contributing to the universe's overall movement toward greater entropy. Your existence is both a rebellion against cosmic randomness and a perfect expression of cosmic creativity, showing how the universe's fundamental processes can give rise to consciousness capable of contemplating its own origins and destiny. Every breath you take, every thought you think, every moment of love and awareness you experience represents the cosmos becoming conscious of itself through the magnificent improbability of your temporary existence. The wisdom traditions of human cultures we've seen intuited many of these same truths about time's nature through contemplative inquiry and careful observation of natural cycles. Buddhist teachings about impermanence, Taoist insights about flowing with natural timing, indigenous understanding of sacred cycles. All of these gentle philosophies recognize that time's passage isn't something that happens to us, but something we participate in at the deepest level of our being. Modern physics and ancient wisdom converge on the recognition that acceptance of temporal flow, rather than resistance to it, opens doorways to peace and understanding that transcend the anxiety of trying to hold on to moments that are naturally flowing away. As you settle into sleep now, you're participating in one of time's most beautiful rhythms, the daily cycle of consciousness and rest that connects your personal experience to the cosmic dance of day and night that has been unfolding since Earth first began spinning in the warmth of our young sun. Your dreams will carry you through another revolution of the planet, another gentle progression through time's flowing current, preparing your awareness for tomorrow's opportunities to witness beauty, to express love, to participate consciously in the ongoing miracle of existence that moves eternally from past toward future in the magnificent river of becoming. Sleep peacefully now, knowing that you are held safely in time's gentle embrace, carried forward by the same cosmic current that guides galaxies through space and brings spring flowers up through winter soil. You're not separate from time's arrow, but rather one of its most precious expressions, a temporary flowering of consciousness in the eternal garden of possibility that stretches from the universe's first breath to its final whisper, forever unfolding in beauty and wonder under the patient watch of stars that burn with the same nuclear fire that beats in your heart and illuminates the dreams that await you in tomorrow's gentle dawn. Sweet dreams, fellow traveller through time's eternal mystery.